Guys, before we dive into the podcast, I want to invite you to Waco, Texas, April 8th and 9th. Grab your guys, grab your girls, plan the guys trip, the girls weekend. Come to Waco, Magnolia Land. We're going to do a Be So Live. It's not a conference. What it is 2 live recordings of the podcast with you in the studio audience where you're going to have the opportunity to ask questions and choose the topic. We're going to have breakfast together, share a meal together, hang out together in Waco, Texas. I've heard rumors about speed dating. If you're interested in that, that can happen as well. We're going to have a surprise worship artist, and Nate is going to write a personalized rap for each of you, everyone who shows up. So,
hey, come to Waco. It's going to be way cool.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody get in your car.
This is going to
even
make
if
them
you have
not
to
want
drive
to come,
far.
so we promise that won't happen.
It's only $65.
Yep.
Try to find anything better in all the land for $65. We'll see you April 8th and 9th. BecomingSomething.com. Get your tickets, BecomingSomething.com.
Thanks for tuning in to Becoming Something, where we promise to keep the conversation honest and real for young adults in their 20s and 30s. Every moment we live is training for a future moment, and that's why we do this podcast, because we want you to be prepared for everything that life is going to throw at you. Our hope with this podcast is that it would help you become all that God desires you to be. So with that in mind, let's jump right in to this week's episode of Becoming Something.
What's up, podcast world? It's your boy JP here in the podcast studio with Nathan Hilgenkamp and Kathy Davidson.
Hello.
What was that?
You're like hugging your mic. I feel like that's bad for sound.
I'm trying to have a radio voice like JP, and you just ruined it.
But you didn't come close.
Okay, because I am not a man.
This is Barry White in the podcast studio.
Gosh, how low can you go?
Oh, I can go really
You can go really low.
But I have an important thing.
Why are you not gonna? Okay.
Well, so
do your important thing after you go low.
Please go low.
Hello, podcast world.
Wait.
I don't know.
Go creepy.
You just said you could do it.
How do you not go low and not be creepy?
How he
Hello,
did it.
podcast
No,
world.
low is cool.
So ever since we've been video,
Oh no.
I've gotten so many responses, people saying, Nate, you're even more attractive than what I thought you were. People have compared me to Chris Pratt. Typically it's Chris Hemsworth,
No,
but
they
it was
didn't
like
compare you.
I-
They said
what
they
I
were
saw on the
picturing
YouTube-
you
No,
in
the
their
person,
head.
the one comment that mentioned Chris Pratt was disappointed.
Yeah, that you actually don't look like
She
him.
said, I always pictured you to look like Chris Pratt, and I didn't know you looked like a 42-year-old golf dad.
Yeah, right. Anyway, there's been a lot of other people who've talked to me. I can't
so
prove it,
many.
but
Yeah.
it's just like, man, you look really good.
I will say
Lower
this morning.
Whoa, okay, too much.
Wow.
All right, it's fine. We're still here.
Anyway.
I will say it's fun to have it on video, but I had to think this morning, like,
Yeah, so
I'm going to be on camera.
if you don't
what
know,
am I going to wear?
If you don't know, we are on YouTube. So if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever, you can watch it on video also.
Spotify peeps, though, man. That's the
Is that
place.
the way to do it?
It seems like it. That's where we're ranked the highest.
That's where we get the most funding, like
Yeah.
ad money. So if you listen on Spotify,
No, that's not true.
go
We've
straight
never
to
gotten
us.
any ad money. That's why there's no ads on this thing. How
Right.
about that?
I
Coming
know,
at you
exactly.
ad free. I love it. How you guys doing? You have Baylor gear on. That's weird.
Well,
Shocker.
because so here's the deal. I get paid not a whole lot here, so I have to have a second job. So tonight I have to go MC a Baylor basketball game. So on Tuesdays I have to wear Baylor gear.
In faurness, we haven't paid you in 1.5 years.
Yeah. We're hoping that you take that as a sign.
Yeah,
Anyways,
we
that's
were.
just my second job, so I have to get ready for it. Y'all wouldn't know.
Oh, yeah, we wouldn't know.
Yeah,
Baylor game tonight.
exactly.
Let's go.
So guys, a lot of people listening, they're single, and they don't want to be. Not that being single is bad or wrong or whatever. It's just
Feels like you think it's wrong.
well.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
All I know is I was able to lock someone down pretty easily.
Yeah.
Had lots of options.
Oh.
Dating wasn't difficult for me. So y'all are going to need to speak into this more as people who might have struggled with it. So people are wondering.
Did you ever get rejected? Did
Oh,
someone
yeah.
ever say no?
Yeah, and I have some stories that I don't think I.
I blocked them out.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
I
no!
remember.
I've gone to the counselor.
No, they're funny, but it's like, man, if people listen, anyway.
Oh, now. So we're not committed to complete transparency.
Authenticity isn't really a core value here at Harris Creek.
It's just like, why would I bring up old dating stories?
Because they make you look bad.
No, they don't make me.
Yeah, why would I say anything that might cause the people not to love me?
Right.
You're just keeping it real, Nate.
But it is shocking. But I have been rejected before.
Okay. Yes.
And I just it's the biggest mistake she's ever made. So anyway,
okay.
But I landed with a good one.
What are we talking about?
So anyway, we are talking about, we get emails all the time, questions about everything, but a lot of questions on dating. One recently from a number of people is, hey, I have feelings for this person. When do I know when I can actually express them? Like, at what point can I say, hey, I like you, or I'm interested in you? Like, how do you break the ice? Does it have to be the guy? Can it be the girl? How do you go about that in that awkward beginning stage?
Man, I've just been plagued by this thought on the topic of dating, like how far we are from where we should be. And so it's so normal. Like, I mean, my daughters are getting to the age where it's homecoming dances and being asked out. And, I have some hot takes on that. And just as a dad, that makes our family weird because it's so normal to begin dating. I mean, I remember saving my money in the 5th grade to buy this girl I like a Valentine's Day gift. That was really important because, I just really liked her in the 5th grade. Really liked her. And how much we have trained ourselves for divorce by jumping into relationships our entire life and then jumping out, jumping in, jumping out. And so I say that to this question of, hey, how do I, or when do I show someone that I'm interested in them? And I'll say, hey, first you want to be at a place where you're marriage material, right? Like marriage is a possibility. Otherwise, what are you doing in expressing feelings to them? You're basically like, hey, I just want to use you as an accessory to my life for a season. Right? Make no mistake about it. Marriage, not super interested in it. I'm not even emotionally ready, spiritually ready, but I do like you a whole lot, and I don't know what to do with those feelings, so I might as well drag you with me as I figure it out. And so I think step one in thinking, hey, what do I do if I have feelings, catch feelings for somebody, is like, are you at a place where you can actually do something with those feelings? And if not, then I wouldn't do a whole lot with them. I might take thoughts captive, move towards productive activity, serve in your church, like get going, continue to grow in skills, and like life skills that would make you a great husband or a great wife. That you can always do that in this season of singleness. So
I feel like that's a very extreme thing that you say. I don't hear very many people say that. In fact, even when I was in college, like the call there for Christians was like to not date till maybe you were at a place where it was more serious, or maybe wait till college. But you're saying, like, don't date until you are ready to get married.
That's right.
And I feel like a lot of people say, oh, but you need to date for the experience. You need to figure out what you do and don't like. How else are you going to know what you're looking for unless you date around? Even Christian advice, like, that's what I hear going out.
Here's a hot take. So you test it and just tell me if I'm true. I'm going to say this. Let it sit out there for a minute. Let it marinate in listeners. People that find out what they're looking for through dating have no idea what they're looking for. And I can almost promise you, if we could statistically track that, okay, if we could, and we can't, but I kind of can, just from pattern recognition, if you will. But if you could statistically track it, you're going to see that those are some of the highest divorce rates. The people who date around to find out what they're looking for end up getting divorced. Here's a reason why. Is because a lot of people change in their 30s and then change again in their 40s. And so in the major decades, people become different. And that's not just from my marriage. It's certainly true of my marriage. I remember, when we got married, Monica and I, the things that we loved, you said, hey, what do you guys like doing? We'd say cruises and comedy clubs. Like, I still love cruises and comedy clubs. She doesn't want to be caught dead on a boat or in a comedy club, like has zero interest in that. So like your interests change, your personalities change. Hormones, maturity, children, all of those things change you as a person. And so what happens when you've taken all of this time to identify someone that you want to spend your life with, and then they change, and really you've banked on your life plan, your strategy, really said, hey, I don't want that to happen. I don't want it to change. So then you're stuck.
But I feel like you're actually making dating weirder and harder because, like, one, you have to know you're ready to be married, to like get ready to be married, which is hard and weird to be like, hey, I'm ready to marry you, so let's go on a first date. And then secondly, like, you date people to find out what you are interested in. Like, you date people and you're like, okay, I don't like that type of person or whatever.
When
so
you
you're
say
like
interested in, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean by that? Because another hot take is everybody's looking for chemistry, when I really think God made us male and female to complement each other. So honestly, it's not someone who's like me that makes a great partner to me. It's really someone who's not like me. If I'm an extrovert, an introvert is a really great balance to my extrovertedness. It's a problem, but I mean, it's a challenge. It creates problems, but is also a sanctifying work. And so I do believe God made opposites to attract. Like, he wired us to do that. And so often people are out there, they're looking for chemistry, and they're looking for like-mindedness and shared interests. And one, those interests changes, and two, those interests can't carry you through conflict. They're not strong enough. You have to have a common interest in your deity, in Jesus, like being rooted in him.
But wouldn't you say, let's say two examples of two different people. This one guy dated 15 different girls and then finally landed and picked one, versus this one who just has only dated one girl his whole life and got married to her. Isn't this one going to have a better marriage, the 15 dating one, because he knows he's like played the field and he found what's best for him?
I would bet my life savings that option 2 is going to have a better marriage,
but
based on observations.
But he's just picking one random person, and he doesn't know the potential other options.
He doesn't have all the baggage, the junk, the comparison, the insecurities, the shame that comes along with that. He's not going to be tempted to, for the rest of his life, compare his wife to some ex-girlfriend 3 dates ago, in his 20s. That I can just tell you, because I've done both of those weddings. I've done both. I've done countless weddings, and when I say countless, I mean I literally don't know how many weddings I've done, and I've had a front row seat of tens of thousands of relationships, and this is why I wrote Outdated, because it was like so much pattern recognition, and I'm telling you that second couple wins every time.
But
now,
you don't want to be that person.
Let me say this. I was not that person, so I'm not trying to heap shame. I'm not trying to be present this like hopeless scenario. Like, God's grace is amazing. There's always healing, and Monica and I have an incredible marriage, but we had a lot we had to work through because of the way we dated. And so here's the hot take that I think you're going for: is like, if you're really good at dating in a worldly way, you suck, if I may say that. You're not very good at marriage. So if you're great at dating, you're not very good at marriage, because dating and marriage are like, dating is not training for marriage. Dating is something altogether different. And that's what I want to bring your attention to, is it's almost like saying, man, my buddy played in the NFL, incredible quarterback. Okay. He was a quarterback for the Cowboys, quarterback for the Cardinals, right? Cardinals? Okay.
Yeah.
And
I for sure don't know.
And I mean, dude can like launch a ball like a rocket. And so, and then we went wakeboarding. and everyone's like, oh, he's going to be great at wakeboarding because he's an athlete, right? And like, dude could not stay up on a wakeboard to save his life. And he was using all this muscle memory from football to try to like just muscle his way up onto this wakeboard, and couldn't do it to save his life. I mean, tried, I don't know, 20, 30 times to get up. And so it wasn't a boat. We were at a cable park. So you could do that. You could try 20 or 30 times without frustrating anyone other than him, right? And that's kind of like the way we did. It was like, oh, well, if we're good at dating, we're going to be good at marriage. Oh, I had this guy tell me this once. Okay.
That was good, by the way.
So do you understand what I'm saying? Is like, just because you accomplished in one thing, they're two completely different things.
Because dating is a world, like, we came up with it.
Yeah.
Right? And then marriage is God's idea.
Yeah, a word.
So they're very different.
Yeah. So, okay. So let me finish this thought. I want to come back to that. That's a great thought too. This guy told me, okay, he was going through premarital counseling at our church, and he's honestly pretty arrogant, had given over to some pride in his life. He was on his 5th marriage, so he's about to marry another woman, the 5th woman, and he was just so over the premarital counseling. And he said, guys, I've been married this will be my 5th time. I've been married 4 times. I think I know what I'm doing.
Oh my God.
Literally, those words came out of his mouth, and he wasn't kidding.
No.
He was not joking.
I believe it.
He said,
yeah.
I've been married 4 times. I think I know what I'm doing. And that's the way we compare dating to marriage, is we think, gosh, people want to be with me. I've been on all these dates. I think I know what I'm doing. And it's like, you don't realize you've trained poorly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 6'7". Like, I've always played basketball, been to basketball camps, all the things. Like, people look at me like, hey, he's gonna be great at basketball. I would practice by myself at the house, and so I'd go up for the rebound, and I'd just come down like Dennis Rodman, because I'd seen Dennis Rodman do it, and I would just come down with the ball. And so then when I got in the game, I would always rebound the ball and bring it down. Well, when you bring the ball down, you might as well be 5'2", because anybody can steal it. Doesn't matter that you're 6'7", you're bringing the ball down. But all that muscle memory was there, and so I didn't know how to play the game right. And so when we date, and it's like we jump into this relationship until we don't like them anymore, and we jump out. You're not training for marriage. You're training for divorce. You're really training to be terrible at marriage. And so dating, to Kathy's point a second ago, it's a new idea, and we don't realize this. Like, the vast majority of marriages in the history of the world did not come to be because of dating, right? There were arranged marriages for the longest time, and then all kinds of, sometimes it's family arranged marriages, sometimes it's a shared person, could be a matchmaker, all these different things in all these different cultures. Dating, that word dating, has existed for about 120 years. It entered the English language as a euphemism for prostitution. To go on a date meant to exchange sexual favors for an experience. That demonic, if I can be so bold as to say, satanic stronghold is still very much attached to that word, because you look at how the world dates and they're exchanging sexual favors for an experience. This is still very much baked into our culture. I'm not, trying to kiss dating goodbye. I am very much saying, as followers of Jesus, we have to redeem this word and do it very different than our culture does, very different than our world does. So how do you do that? We're going to get back to your initial question, which we've left for a long time. This is, everybody should lean in, like, get your pen and pad and truly, like, test this. Like, tell me I'm wrong. Like, if I'm wrong, like, educate me. I'll stop saying it. Like, I sat with a friend of mine, graduated from Harvard, undergrad from Stanford, brilliant strategist. I mean, was the lead strategist for $1 billion hedge fund.
And what did I tell you?
Oh.
Yeah. What did you tell me?
Nate, you just never miss an opportunity.
I know.
Yeah. I said brilliant, not moronic. Brilliant guy. And so he just said, hey, strategy is this simple. It's knowing where you're at, knowing where you want to be, and formulating a plan to get there. So it's like, you have to have a death grip on where you're at. You have to really know where you want to be, and then you begin to put a plan together to go from where you're at to where you want to be. So if you desire marriage, right, you say, okay, here is where I'm at. Like, what is the baggage that I have right now from my upbringing, from my parents, abandonment, abuse, any adultery, fornication, sexual acts outside of marriage, pornography, addictions, hurts, habits, hang-ups. Like, I want to really understand where I'm at. Like, how is my relationship with Jesus? How am I growing in the faith? Like, where am I right now as a person? Like, how am I doing? Like, is it, like, what in my life? Like, where do I need to improve before I go latch on to somebody else and say, hey, let's do this life together? Because so often that's what people do.
But whenever you're like college student, young adult, in that stage where you're trying to date someone to be married, you don't have time to, like, fix those things because people are flying off the shelves. It's like, I remember someone telling me when I was in college, it was like, you better find someone fast because the best ones get picked the earliest.
Wow. People really talk like that?
Oh, yeah. I totally remember that conversation. So there's this pressure of, like, I can work on that stuff later. I got to find myself a wife right now.
Yeah, well, let's just go back to observations for a minute, because when he said the best ones, I almost promise you he meant the hottest ones, the curviest ones, the most beautiful ones, the prettiest eyes.
In our standards.
All the things, right? And I'm just telling you, that doesn't stay that way. and so beauty, here's what I would say. Charm is deceitful and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is often left behind.
Wow.
Left on the shelf, to use your metaphor.
Yeah.
And so by observation, I would say that's Proverbs 31:30 tweaked.
The JP translation.
And so there are amazing women who guys overlook. And so you might get ahead if you say, hey, I'm going to take a season and I'm going to work on me, and I'm going to deal with these hurts, habits, hang-ups, these sin issues, addictions, abuse, adultery, abandonment from my parents, daddy wounds, mother wounds. I'm going to deal with these things. I'm going to heal from them. I'm not going to be perfect. None of us are perfect. We're not glorified. We're in a sanctification process. But I want to, even just starting with like, hey, I know what they are, so I can clearly communicate them to someone else as they become my life really partner, And so that's where you're at. And then you say, okay, so this is where I'm at, and I'm single. And I want to be not married. That's a huge mistake that a lot of people say who desire marriage. I just want to be married. Listen, you can be married before the sun sets today. I mean, you can there's a lot of ways to be married. You don't just want to be married, right? You want to be married well, in a healthy marriage, one that's not one of the half of them that fail. You want to be in a healthy marriage. So here's where I'm at right now, and where I want to be is if I desire marriage, I want to be in a healthy marriage to someone who loves Jesus. Yep. And so that's where I'm at, and that's where I want to be. And that line in between, we call that dating. But you need to shape dating to match your strategy. So it should be like, okay, I know what I'm looking for. First of all, I got to know what I'm looking for, or I'm never going to find it. Right. I'm just going to be chasing feelings left and right, in and out of relationships, training for divorce. Know what you're looking. I'm very pro list. Like, write your list. Like, here is the type of husband I want. Here's the kind of wife that I want. And I'm looking at my list so that when I meet them, I'm going to compare them to my list. And I would have scripture speak into those character traits. Like, put verses by them, right? And pray for that person if you desire marriage. Pray, Lord, would you show me, identify, give me discernment, give me wisdom, help me find this person.
And that list doesn't need to be like all physical characteristics,
tall,
or
dark,
I want
handsome.
a doctor, I want someone who makes money. Like, I think that's the problem. Girls, I know for sure. We make
it's
the
okay
list.
if they make money, but a lot of times they make lots of money.
Whatever. Like that being the requirement. Yeah, we need some.
You expect him to have a job?
I mean,
kidding me?
I'd like a guy who has a job. My bar's really high.
High bar.
He has to be able to breathe.
Have health insurance.
Girls, we make the list. We just make maybe the wrong list.
Yeah, that's true. That's real. So you put that list together, and then check this out. Then you say, okay, they seem to match this list, right? And I meet them, right? We meet them, and they seem to match this list. And then you say, okay, how can I be sure? So what experiences do I want to see them in? What environments do I want to see them in to make sure they are who I think I am?
And one of the best ways is if you guys just Netflix and chill. Yeah. Like, if you do that, you really get to know.
Yeah. You just text forever.
You're so hip and relevant.
Yeah, Netflix and chill.
That was awesome.
Can you define what that means?
2000 just called. What's their term back? Anyways, okay, don't Netflix and chill.
Yeah.
So no, you say, okay, like, man, we want to resolve conflict together. I want to see how they treat the server at the restaurant. I want to see how they treat people who can do nothing for them in return. Their relationship with their parents, their interaction with their family, their interaction with my family. Like, these are environments I want to see them in, so that you're kind of moving through those environments, checking boxes. Like, you know what? They are consistent. And it's not like they don't ever have a bad day, but they seem to really be this person. Like, I am so shocked at how many people have told me they get married and like, man, my spouse is so different from who I thought they were. Man, like, I got a buddy in ministry who on his honeymoon, his wife was like, I've been high this entire time.
What?
Ever since I've met you, you've never seen me sober. They sadly got a divorce, but it was like, and he was like, I had no idea. Like, I didn't even know she had ever done a drug. And it's like, come on, man. Like, you gotta know, like, because when your feelings come in all hot and heavy, man, your brain goes out the window. Like your logic goes out the window, and you just start going through life with your heart, and you end up in a bad marriage. And so you have to have something else to support. Like, okay, this is what I'm looking for. this person seems to be who I'm looking for, and now I just want to confirm that they are that, and as efficiently and as effectively as I can. People around me confirm that. My community, my parents, my family, other believers in my life are saying, hey, we should do a podcast, by the way, on what if my family doesn't approve, but my family's not believers? Because I get that question every Friday. So that podcast is coming. But as believers are nodding their heads, then you get married. And if you desire marriage, it's awesome. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be sanctifying, but it's also going to be a lot of fun. And it's that simple. It is not more difficult than that. So Romans 12 says, love must be sincere. And so if you are at a place where you desire marriage, and you're open to it, like God would affirm that in this season, and you like somebody, tell them. That's the answer to that question.
But that's so difficult. Like, I know you just said it's simple. It's not difficult. That is so hard.
What's hard?
Telling someone you like them, because you're opening yourself up to being rejected or saying it, or like being embarrassed. Like, yeah,
you are, but you also probably not ready for marriage if you can't.
Ooh.
Because in marriage, you have to have a lot of difficult conversations. You have to talk to children's teachers. You have to, talk to somebody who's bullying your kids, or if your spouse has a hard day, you have to go to court for jury duty. And I mean, there's all kinds of difficult challenges out there that await you. If you cannot go up to someone and say, hey, I would really be interested in getting to know you better. Would you like to go on a date with me? Then you're probably not ready for marriage.
But what if they like laugh in your face and you're like, oh my gosh. Like,
May that only happen to you.
Yeah.
I was trying not to bring up the past.
You're like going back. I saw the pain in your eyes. But what if they tell you that they're so sick of you wearing Baylor clothes, and then
you dress like a dad and you're not a dad,
and then they leave you for your best friend? Like, calm down, buddy. Okay.
But like, Nate, even whatever rejection you got in your life, like, do you ever think about that now that you're happily married?
Every morning.
The answer is supposed to be no.
Only when I cry myself to sleep every night.
I'm just saying, like, we build up rejection or someone saying no, like it's the absolute worst thing in the world. And I'm like, chances are no one's going to laugh in your face. They'll say no politely and awkwardly, and then you just go about your life.
But what if it ruins this, like, friendship? Like,
then you
something
find
I've
another
heard from
friend.
college students, young adults, is like, I get to hang out with like this girl, and I like hanging out with her, and I'm afraid if I say something, it'll all get awkward, and like
it probably will be.
It will get awkward even if you just like stay awkward friends forever. There's nothing more awkward than that.
I mean, life's hard. I feel like everybody wants it just to be like, it's like we want to go through life and figure out how to program out all the awkward tension and stuff. Those are all things you just have to work through. And you got to do a lot of that in marriage. That's my point, is like, if you're afraid of rejection, if you're afraid to take courage and have conversations, you're not going to be very good at marriage. And you probably want to stay single for a longer season and work through those things. I'm not saying that you have to be this, fearless person with your cape blowing in the wind, pounding your chest with a big S, able to leap over tall buildings. That it's not that, but you do have to be able to face those fears and get over them to be married. Like, you just have to. And if you can't, you're just not ready yet, and that's okay. God still loves you. Totally. His son still died for you. You still have an inheritance in heaven forever and ever and ever with him. And it's a great time to learn those skills. And there are people around you, I bet, I'm almost positive, or keep tuning in to Becoming Something, there are people around you who will help you grow through that.
Yeah. I was going to say, I have a question, okay? Because you're kind of talking like you have a choice in the matter. Like, what if you're a girl and you are ready for marriage? You've worked through your stuff. You know exactly the kind of marriage you're looking for. Yeah. What do you do? Like, do you go up to a guy that you think fits your list and tell him? Do you just, like, have movie nights and invite him over with a group of friends? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard pastors counsel women, like, hey, you do not ask guys out, you this and that, whatever. Listen, I'm raising 2 daughters, and I want them to look for guys who take initiative. And so I really don't want them asking guys out, even like in Sadie Hawkins, or these things where the girls ask guys out. I'm just not a big fan of that. You're choosing your problems. I don't like the problems that sends you home with. But I also in Scripture, I don't see it forbidden at all. I mean, I just don't. I don't see any verse out there that would caution. If somebody knows of one, send it to me. But I don't see it, right? And so what I do see is love must be sincere. And so it's like, if you like someone, I don't see a problem with you communicating that to them. You do need to be aware of the problems that you're choosing, because that guy may be uber passive, and he hasn't faced his fears, and he likes you, but he could never tell you, and he's not ready to be a husband, but you made it easy on him. Because he didn't have to face his fears. He didn't have to get over it. He didn't have to, be courageous and ask you out. You did all the work for him. You need to know the problems you're choosing, but I also don't think it's scripturally forbidden.
So, like, if you think there's someone that matches your list, you could tell them. You could ask them out. Maybe you could just hang out around them.
Yeah, or you could say, you know what, you are the kind of guy that I hope ask me out one day. That's a pretty bold hint, right? I mean, and if he's not jumping on that hint, he's a moron.
That's better than what I did in college. I had movie nights in my apartment, and I made cookies, and I'd invite all the guys and some girls over.
Did you listen to the porch?
It didn't really work out.
I used to say that.
Really?
One time the people would dog on me because I was like, bake him cookies.
Okay, well, I did that, and you know what? They just called me Mama Kathy.
Before you email and say I'm a chauvinist, that wasn't not my heart. I'm just like, hey, come up with some creative way to show him you're interested. But as I've continued to spend time in the Word and been around dating couples, I'm like, listen, I wouldn't play games. I'm not a fan of games. And so if you like him, I don't see God frowning upon you saying, hey, I'm interested in you. But you do need to be aware of the problems you're choosing.
Totally.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to face those problems, stay patient.
Yeah. Can I go back to something we were talking about earlier? The guy who's dating 15 different people and found the right one versus the one who was just dating one. Something I'm not sure you understand, JP, but whenever you're dating a bunch of people, you're trying to find the one. So that person who goes through that list, you found the one. So you said something that's almost offensive. You're like, we're training for divorce. But when you're doing that, you're finding the one person who you won't ever want to leave. That's what happens.
Is there, and that's a very dangerous question. It's going to be very hard for you to answer this honestly.
Dang it. Okay.
Is there anyone out there, is there a one out there that Adley could be happier with?
Oh my gosh. I can answer that easier than the other way.
I was about to say, there's not another one
I know.
that you can.
I truly think I did pretty good. But
jackpot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we know that too.
Yeah, right? And so same for Monica. And so there's not a one, bottom line. You're not roaming through the world trying to find the needle in a haystack. It's, there's a bunch of people. There's a bunch of people that you can marry and have a thriving ministry about Jesus with. And Hollywood has ruined you, and Hollywood has the highest divorce rate of just about anywhere on the planet Earth, and they are our relationship coaches, which is stupid and satanic. You got to know the devil's winning when he's taken the people who are the worst at something and given them the loudest voice to speak into it. They are miserably married multiple times. Their marriages don't work most of the time, and they're the ones telling you how to be married and giving you relational advice. There's not someone, you're right, you're not looking for a soulmate, S-O-U-L mate. You're looking for a soulmate, S-O-L-E mate, one mate for a lifetime, someone who loves Jesus. And so there's a lot of people that and so there's somebody that Monica could be happier with than me. There's somebody that would be a better partner to her than I, but we married each other. And so now we're committed to each other for life. I don't ever have to wonder, did I marry the wrong one? She's the one I married. And so we're in it together. So we might as well make the most of it for me to pour into that marriage and to make it a good marriage, because it's the only marriage I got.
But what you just said blew some people's minds right now.
It's true.
I had this conversation a week ago with someone, and we were asking about soulmates or the one. And I told him there's not one for you. It was like I told him his dog had died.
Soulmate, it actually comes from Greek mythology. And so there used to be the belief that every person started as two people, and I think it was Zeus that cut. By the way, Zeus isn't real, but in the story, Zeus that cut them in half, and so then you had to go throughout the world trying to find your other half. your soulmate, if you will, that it's born out of satanic ideology.
And
like
we're
it is
taking it
not
as
real.
gospel.
To be honest, I've always thought Greek mythology was real.
Yeah.
So that was really
Yeah,
helpful.
You're
well,
kiting.
good.
We just
I'm
need
so-
to clarify. You're kidding.
So glad. These
But
are the kind of pastors we
believe
have
Zeus
on
doesn't
staff
exist.
at
I
Harris
was going
Creek.
to say,
Guys.
earlier you said something.
He's joking.
Yeah, you were very clear. He's joking. How far we are from the mark.
Yeah.
Like, that is probably where we've missed it the most. The fact that we've taken something as scripture or as gospel, as truth.
Yeah,
like, there
from the
is a
Notebook.
one from the. Although that is a good movie,
Oh,
and
my
it gets me in my
Man,
feels.
It's crazy. Like,
I
think about it though.
lost it.
But think about what's happening in
I
that
know.
movie.
Oh,
Like,
I know.
Well, Notebook's not
It's
super
so
relevant.
bad.
It's about as relevant as Netflix and chill.
Yeah, right. But yeah, it's a huge love triangle, love, hate you, screaming in the rain.
She
making
ends up
out,
with
and-
the other guy
Yeah,
and not
cheats
the
on
guy
the
that she's
boyfriend,
with.
yeah.
Yeah, cheating is bad. It's a bad movie.
Right.
Highly
If this
don't
conversation has at all, I've been waiting the whole time to say this. If this conversation has at all been helpful to you, one of the most helpful resources to me is from a pastor, leading voice in the young adult world. The book Single Dating Engaged Married by Ben Stewart.
Yes.
If you want to
Ben.
learn more about dating,
Yeah.
go
It is-
pick up that resource.
It is a great
There's just
book.
no
You
other
should
book
listen. Yeah, I mean,
like it.
and listen. He's giving me a hard time, but you should listen to that book. Ben is an authority on the topic. Hey, we got to go. We're over time because this is a topic of such passion.
You get really into it.
If you've listened this far, you need to know we're doing the Becoming Something
Yes.
conference. It's not a
Like-
conference. We're not doing Becoming Something conference. It's not a conference. If you're looking for a conference, you're going to be disappointed.
Don't go.
It's the Becoming Something Live, where we're going to record 2 of these live with an audience, take questions from the audience, have a meal together. And I heard
And
something about
speed dating. You might have the
surprise worship artists.
opportunity
It's
to
going to
meet
be
someone.
incredible. It's only $65.
Yeah, that's not
like
bad.
try to find a conference for $65.
And I'm getting 10. You're getting 15,000. You're getting 10.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Hey, we are giving it
He's
all
kidding.
back to you. Yeah. We're giving. It'll be worth your.
We're
your time.
taking your money and we're adding our money to it and we're investing it in you over the weekend.
Yeah, it's
so
gonna be so fun. April
we'd
8th
love to
and
have you. Waco, it's a great girls weekend, great guys weekend. Come hang out with us in Waco, Texas. We love you guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Becoming Something, where we promise to keep the conversation honest and real for young adults in their 20s and 30s. Every moment we live is training for a future moment, and that's why we do this podcast, because we want you to be prepared for everything that life is going to throw at you. Our hope with this podcast is that it would help you become all that God desires you to be. To find out more, visit becomingsomething.com.